Ambition is a beautiful thing. It's the fire inside you that makes you want more out of life. It's the voice in your head that whispers, "You were meant for something greater." But here's the problem. Ambition without action is nothing more than a dream. And if you don't learn how to bridge that gap, that dream can easily turn into your biggest source of frustration. Think about it. You wake up every morning with big ideas. You want to build a business, you want financial freedom, you want to create impact. You scroll through social media, watch successful people, and deep down, you believe you're capable of reaching their level. And you are. But what happens? You stall. You procrastinate. You get distracted. Suddenly, another week, another month, even another year passes, and you're in the same spot. This is the harsh reality. Ambition without execution builds regret. And regret is one of the most painful emotions a person can carry. Why? Because you know you had the potential, but you didn't move. You know you had the ideas, but you didn't act. And deep down, you know you could have been someone different, if only you had taken consistent action. Now I want you to understand something very clearly. If you call yourself lazy but ambitious, it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you'll never succeed. It simply means there's a gap between what you want and what you're willing to do daily. That gap isn't a curse, it's a signal. It's showing you exactly where you need to grow. Most people wait for motivation. They think one day they'll feel ready. But motivation is not the problem here. Motivation is temporary. The real problem is clarity. When your ambition is too vague, action feels impossible. Saying, "I want to be successful" is not enough. Saying, "I want to start a business" is not enough. Those statements are too big, too blurry, and your brain resists them. Here's what happens psychologically. Your ambition excites you, but your lack of clarity paralyzes you. So you avoid the work. You watch Netflix, you scroll your phone, you tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes next week, then next month, and before you know it, another year of ambition is wasted. But let's flip the perspective. Instead of treating laziness like your identity, treat it like feedback. Laziness is not who you are. Laziness is simply your brain telling you, the gap between what you want and what you think you can do is too big. Once you shrink that gap, once you create small, clear actions that connect directly to your ambition, laziness disappears. For example, instead of saying, "I want to build $1 million business," say, "I will spend 20 minutes today researching a problem I can solve." Instead of saying, "I want to write a book," say, "I will write 100 words today." These micro actions are so small, they bypass resistance. They create momentum, and momentum is the cure to laziness. Here's the truth. Ambition only becomes real when it's backed by daily effort. It doesn't have to be perfect effort. It doesn't have to be massive effort. It just has to be consistent effort. And once you commit to small daily actions, something incredible happens. You start trusting yourself. You prove to yourself that your ambition is not just a fantasy. You begin building the bridge between the person you are today and the person you know you're meant to become. So the next time you say, "I'm ambitious but lazy," stop and think. Is it really laziness, or is it lack of clarity? Is it really that you don't want to work? Or is it that you haven't broken your ambition into something your brain can execute on today? Remember this. Ambition without action creates regret. But ambition with small, consistent action creates transformation. Your choice every single day is whether you want to live with regret or live with results. Most people believe the reason they don't take action is because they don't have enough time. They say things like, "I'm too busy," or "I'll do it when I have more time." But here's the reality. Lack of time is almost never the issue. The real issue is energy. You don't need more hours in the day. You need more energy in the hours you already have. Think about it. Have you ever had a full free day with nothing on your calendar, but you still did absolutely nothing? You told yourself, "I'll work later." But later came and you were too tired, too distracted, or just didn't feel like it. That's not a time problem. That's an energy problem. This is why ambitious people who call themselves lazy need to shift their focus from time management to energy management. Because the truth is, if your energy is low, it doesn't matter how much time you have. You won't execute. On the other hand, if your energy is high, you can get more done in 2 focused hours than most people get done in an entire day. So let's talk about how to manage energy. It starts with the basics: sleep, diet, and movement. I know this doesn't sound glamorous, but it's foundational. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly sleep deprived, eating junk food, and sitting all day. Your body is running on fumes. No amount of ambition can override that. You will feel lazy because your energy is literally drained. Successful people, the ones you look up to, don't just manage their calendar, they manage their state. They protect their mornings. They fuel their body with the right foods. They move their body daily, even if it's just a walk or light exercise. They know that physical energy translates directly into mental focus. The second part of energy management is mental energy. Every day, your brain has a limited amount of decision-making power. This is called decision fatigue. If you waste your mental energy scrolling through social media, stressing over small things, or making endless trivial decisions, you'll have no energy left for the actions that actually matter. That's why routines are so powerful. When you build habits, you save energy because you no longer have to decide. You just execute. For example, instead of deciding every morning, should I work on my project now or later? Create a routine where you always start your day with 30 minutes of focused work. No decision, no negotiation, just action. That way, you conserve energy for the deeper, creative work that drives your ambition forward. The third element of energy management is environment. Your environment can either fuel you or drain you. If you're surrounded by clutter, noise, or people who distract you, your energy will constantly leak. But if you intentionally design your environment to remove distractions and add inspiration, your energy will rise. Simple changes like working in a clean space, surrounding yourself with positive people, or even just listening to the right kind of music can completely shift your energy. Here's the key insight. Lazy people aren't always lacking discipline. They're often lacking energy. And when your energy is low, every task feels 10 times harder than it really is. But when your energy is high, tasks feel lighter, faster, and even enjoyable. This is why some days you feel unstoppable, and other days you feel like you can't move. The difference isn't time, it's energy. So here's the challenge I want to give you. Stop saying, I don't have time. Instead, start asking, how can I increase my energy? Ask yourself, did I sleep well? Am I eating in a way that fuels me? Am I moving daily? Am I eliminating unnecessary decisions and distractions? When you master energy management, laziness loses its grip on you. You'll discover that you already have the time you need. You just needed the energy to use it. And once you align your energy with your ambition, you'll be amazed at how much progress you can make, even in the same 24 hours you've always had. Remember, time is fixed, but energy is flexible. The person with the most energy, not the most hours, is the one who wins. One of the biggest reasons ambitious people fall into laziness is because their goals feel overwhelming. You dream big. Maybe you want to start a business, write a book, or completely transform your life. But when you look at the size of that goal, your brain freezes. The task feels so massive that you don't even know where to begin. And when you don't know where to begin, you procrastinate. This is why laziness isn't always a lack of ambition. It's a response to feeling overwhelmed. Your mind sees the mountain in front of you, and instead of climbing, it tells you, let's just rest. Today, we'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes, because the mountain still looks impossible. The solution? Break every big ambition into micro-actions. Steps so small, so simple, that resistance has no chance to stop you. Let me give you an example. Imagine your ambition is to start an online business. When you think about everything that's involved, creating a product, building a website, marketing, finding customers, it feels impossible. So you avoid it. But if you break it down into the smallest possible step, suddenly it becomes doable. Instead of saying, I need to launch a business, you say, today I'll write down 5 problems I see people struggling with. That's it. Just one small step. Or let's say your dream is to write a book. That's a huge ambition. If you sit down and tell yourself, I need to write 300 pages, you'll freeze. But if you say, I'll write 100 words today, it feels easy. You can do 100 words in 10 minutes. And if you repeat that small step daily, eventually you'll have your book. This is the power of micro-actions. They trick your brain into starting. And once you start, something magical happens. Momentum. See, action fuels more action. Once you write 100 words, you might feel inspired to write 200. Once you brainstorm 5 problems, you might end up with 10. Starting small lowers resistance, and once resistance is gone, momentum takes over. Here's the psychological principle behind this. Your brain is wired to avoid pain and seek reward. Big, vague goals feel painful because they seem impossible to achieve, but small, specific actions feel rewarding because they're easy to complete. When you finish a micro-action, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical of achievement. That dopamine makes you feel good, and it motivates you to take the next step. So instead of setting goals that paralyze you, focus on actions that activate you. Don't say, I want to get fit this year. Say, I will do 5 push-ups right now. Don't say, I need to save $10,000. Say, I'll transfer $5 into savings today. These steps are so small they almost feel laughable. But that's the point. They're too easy to skip. And when you keep stacking those micro-actions, you slowly build the life you want. Another benefit of micro-actions is that they create consistency. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Doing something small every day is far more powerful than doing something massive once and then burning out. If you can build the habit of consistent micro-actions, laziness won't stand a chance. Now here's the best part. Micro-actions don't just move you forward, they reshape your identity. Every time you complete a small action, you're proving something to yourself. You're proving that you're capable. You're proving that your ambition is real. And that proof starts to rewrite your self-image. You stop calling yourself lazy and start seeing yourself as someone who takes action, no matter how small. So the next time you feel stuck, don't try to leap the entire mountain. Just take one small step, write one sentence, send one email, read one page, and trust the process. Because success doesn't come from giant leaps. It comes from tiny, consistent steps that compound over time. Remember this, big goals break people, but small steps build them. If you want to turn your ambition into reality, shrink the goal until it's impossible not to start. And once you start, momentum will carry you further than you ever imagined. If you're ambitious but lazy, chances are you've already tried to rely on willpower. You told yourself, tomorrow I'll get serious, tomorrow I'll start. And maybe you did, for a day or two. But eventually, old habits returned, and you fell back into the same cycle of procrastination. Here's the truth. Willpower alone is not enough. Even the most disciplined people in the world don't rely on sheer willpower. What they rely on is accountability. Accountability is the secret weapon that turns ambition into consistent action. Why? Because when you only answer to yourself, it's easy to break promises. Nobody sees you quit. Nobody knows if you fail. You can hide your laziness in silence. But when you involve others, mentors, friends, coaches, even a supportive community, everything changes. Suddenly, quitting isn't just disappointing yourself. It means disappointing others. And that extra layer of pressure pushes you to follow through. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine you want to wake up early and work on your business idea every morning. If you keep that goal to yourself, it's easy to hit snooze when the alarm goes off. Nobody knows, nobody cares. But if you tell a friend, I'm going to call you every morning at 6 a.m. after I finish my first work session, now you've raised the stakes. If you don't wake up, you're not just failing yourself, you're breaking a promise to someone else. That's accountability. Dan Martell often says, environment dictates performance, and accountability is part of that environment. When you surround yourself with people who expect more from you, you naturally rise to that expectation. It's the same reason why athletes train harder with a coach watching. It's the same reason why people perform better in groups than they do alone. Accountability raises the standard. Now, accountability doesn't always mean having someone physically present. There are many ways to create it. Mentors and coaches. Find someone further ahead than you, someone you respect, and report your progress to them. Accountability partners. Pair up with a friend who also has goals, and check in with each other daily or weekly. Public commitments. Announce your goal publicly, on social media, to your family, or in a community. The fear of looking inconsistent will push you to act. Systems of accountability. Use apps, trackers, or even financial stakes. For example, commit to donating money if you don't follow through. Here's why this works. Human beings are wired for social connection. We don't want to look bad in front of others. We crave approval and we fear judgment. Accountability leverages that natural psychology in your favor. It turns social pressure into fuel for execution. Without accountability, your ambition stays in your head. With accountability, your ambition becomes real because now you have something at stake. Laziness thrives in private, but accountability kills laziness by shining a light on it. Think about it. Why do students complete assignments? Because a teacher will check. Why do employees finish projects? Because a boss will ask. Why do athletes push themselves to exhaustion? Because a coach is there, watching. Accountability creates urgency and consequence. Two things ambition alone can't provide. If you're truly ambitious but constantly find yourself slipping into laziness, you don't need more motivation. You need more accountability. Build it into your environment. Create systems where failing to act is harder than following through. Surround yourself with people who push you to be better, who won't let you settle for excuses. Remember this: accountability doesn't make you weak. It makes you unstoppable. Even the most successful people in the world lean on accountability. They hire coaches, join masterminds, and surround themselves with teams because they know they can't do it alone. So stop trying to carry your ambition in silence. Share it, announce it, connect it to other people, because when you put your ambition out in the open, you give it weight. And when others are holding you to your word, you'll discover a level of consistency you didn't think you had. Accountability transforms ambition from "I want to" into "I must." And once you shift into that mindset, laziness doesn't stand a chance. Keynote 5. Build systems, not motivation. If you're ambitious but lazy, you've probably said to yourself, "I just need to get motivated." Maybe you watch motivational videos, listen to podcasts, or read success stories to pump yourself up, and for a short while it works. You feel inspired, ready to conquer the world. But then what happens? A few hours later, or maybe the next day, that motivation fades. You're back to scrolling your phone, making excuses, and wondering why you can't stay consistent. Here's the truth. Motivation is temporary. It's like a spark. It can start a fire, but it can't keep the fire burning. If you rely only on motivation, you'll always be stuck in a cycle of starting strong and then stopping. What you really need is not more motivation, but better systems. So what do I mean by systems? A system is a structure or process that makes execution automatic. It removes the need for constant decision-making and willpower. Instead of asking yourself every day, "Do I feel like doing this?" A system makes sure the work happens whether you feel like it or not. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up and say, "I need motivation to brush my teeth today." You just do it. Why? Because it's part of your system. It's a habit ingrained into your daily routine. That's the power of systems. They turn important actions into automatic ones. Now, let's connect this to your ambition. If you want to start a business, write a book, or get in shape, motivation will get you excited, but only systems will get you results. For example, instead of waiting for motivation to exercise, create a system where your workout clothes are laid out the night before, and you go for a 15-minute walk every morning immediately after brushing your teeth. Instead of waiting for motivation to write, set a system where you write 200 words every day at the same time, no matter what. Instead of waiting for motivation to work on your business, set up a system where you dedicate a fixed 1-hour block every evening with your phone in another room and a clear to-do list in front of you. Notice the pattern? Systems remove the question of if and replace it with when. They take away the emotional drama and make execution the default. Dan Martell often says, "You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." That means it doesn't matter how big your ambition is. If you don't have systems that support it, you'll always fall short. On the other hand, even if your motivation is low, strong systems will keep you moving forward. Here's why systems are so powerful. Laziness thrives in decision-making moments. Every time you have to choose whether to act or not, laziness whispers in your ear, "Do it later. Rest a little more. You'll start tomorrow." And often, that voice wins. But when you have a system, there is no decision. It's already decided. You just follow the plan. Systems also build consistency, and consistency is what compounds into results. Doing a little every day with a system is far more powerful than doing a lot once in a while with motivation. For example, writing 200 words a day for 6 months gives you a full book draft. Working out for 20 minutes a day gets you in shape faster than one intense workout followed by weeks of inactivity. So the next time you catch yourself waiting for motivation, stop. Motivation is nice, but it's unreliable. Instead, ask yourself, what system can I build to make this action automatic? Maybe it's setting reminders, creating routines, designing your environment, or using accountability tools. Whatever it is, make the system stronger than your excuses. Remember this: motivation might get you started, but only systems will keep you going. If you want to stop being ambitious but lazy, stop chasing sparks and start building structures. Because success doesn't belong to the most motivated. It belongs to the most consistent. And consistency comes from systems, not feelings. When you master this shift, laziness no longer controls you. Your ambition finally has a structure to live in, and that's when real transformation begins. Keynote 6. Redefine discipline as self-respect. When most people hear the word discipline, they think of punishment. They think of forcing themselves to do things they don't want to do, of living a boring, rigid life with no fun, no freedom, no joy. That's why so many ambitious people resist discipline. It feels like chains. It feels like sacrifice. And so, instead of embracing discipline, they avoid it, telling themselves, "I'll do it when I feel like it." But here's the truth. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect. Think about it. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're telling yourself, "I matter. My goals matter. My future matters." And every time you break a promise to yourself, you're saying the opposite. "I don't matter. My goals aren't worth it. My future can wait." This is why ambitious people often feel stuck in guilt and shame. It's not just about laziness, and it's about self-betrayal. You know what you want. You know what you're capable of. But when you don't follow through, you break trust with yourself. That broken trust hurts. It eats away at your confidence. And over time, it makes you believe you're lazy, when in reality, you've just disconnected ambition from discipline. The shift happens when you start seeing discipline not as something you have to do, but as something you deserve to do. Discipline is an act of love towards your future self. It's proof that you care enough about your life to show up for it every day. Let me put it this way. Imagine someone you deeply respect, maybe a friend, a mentor, or a family member. If you made a promise to them, would you break it? Probably not. You'd do everything you could to keep your word because you respect them. So why don't you show yourself the same respect? Why don't you treat your own promises as sacred? Here's what discipline really looks like when it's reframed as self-respect. Waking up early isn't punishment. It's respecting your future self enough to give them more time in the day. Eating healthy isn't sacrifice. It's respecting your body enough to fuel it properly. Working on your business, your craft, or your goals every day isn't torture. It's respecting your ambition enough to act on it. When you approach discipline this way, it stops feeling heavy. It stops feeling like a burden. Instead, it feels empowering. You start to realize, I'm not doing this because I have to. I'm doing this because I care about myself and my future. Now, let's be clear. Discipline doesn't mean perfection. You don't have to execute flawlessly every single day. True discipline is about consistency, not perfection. It's about showing up more often than not. It's about getting back on track when you slip, instead of letting one bad day turn into a bad week. And here's the magic. Once you start practicing discipline as self-respect, your identity begins to shift. You stop calling yourself lazy. You stop doubting whether you can succeed. Because every small act of discipline reinforces a new belief. I can trust myself. I do follow through. I am the kind of person who acts on my ambition. This identity shift is what separates people who dream from people who achieve. Ambition without discipline is fantasy. Ambition with discipline becomes reality. And when discipline comes from a place of self-respect, it feels sustainable. You no longer fight yourself. You support yourself. So here's my challenge for you. The next time you're faced with a choice, whether to do the work or skip it, don't ask, "Do I feel motivated?" Instead ask, "Do I respect myself enough to follow through?" That single question can change everything. Remember this, discipline is not about restriction, it's about liberation. Because when you respect yourself enough to act on your ambition, you free yourself from regret, from guilt, and from the pain of unrealized potential. Discipline is self-respect in action. And once you see it that way, laziness has no place in your life. Conclusion. Turning ambition into action, if you've made it this far, it means one thing. You are ambitious. Deep down, you know you're capable of more. You know your life could be bigger, better, and more impactful than it is right now. But at the same time, you've struggled with laziness. You've struggled with procrastination. You've watched your ambition clash with inaction. And you've felt the frustration that comes from not living up to your own potential. But here's the good news. Being ambitious but lazy is not a life sentence. It's a signal. It's proof that you have the desire to grow, and all you need are the right strategies to bridge the gap between dreaming and doing. That's exactly what these 6 keynotes have given you. The first step was understanding the truth about ambition without action. Ambition on its own is useless. It only creates regret when it isn't backed by execution. That's why you can't stop at wanting more, you have to act. Even the smallest action separates the dreamers from the doers. The second step was energy management. You don't need more hours in the day. You need more energy in the hours you already have. When your body and mind are fueled, when you protect your focus, and when you eliminate unnecessary drains, you become unstoppable. Laziness fades when energy flows. Then we talked about breaking goals into micro-actions. This is the secret to defeating overwhelm. You don't need to climb the entire mountain in one day. You just need to take the next small step. Write 1 page. Make 1 call. Do 1 rep. The fourth step was leveraging accountability. Willpower is fragile, but accountability is strong. When you bring other people into your journey, mentors, friends, communities, you raise the stakes. You can no longer hide, and that external pressure becomes the push you need to keep moving forward, even on